Hey everyone, it's Jason. So today we're going to do an unboxing for the Arkham Horror 3rd Edition board game. I specify it says it's 3rd Edition even though it doesn't say it anywhere on the box. There's a very original edition that came out in the 80s, out in the, was probably like sometime in the 90s then. The 2nd edition came out, been out for a long time, and then now just recently, the 3rd edition came out. So they're not compatible with each other. They basically are newer versions, updated stats, components, and things like that. But you can almost essentially call them three separate different games. So if they have other Arkham games out there. You may have seen they have the Arkham Horror card game, which is a different thing. It's they all share similarities. They're all in the same universe. There's also games like Elder Signs, Mansions of Madness. There's another one I can't think of. But they all share like the same universe, the same people, the same aesthetics. But the Arkham universe is Elder Gods, Cthulhu, Ancient Ones, mythos like that. And it takes place in the 1920s. So everyone says like detectives, bootleggers. They're using simple guns, knives and things like that. They're not using fancy technologies. So it makes it kind of very interesting. Arkham is in Massachusetts. Right here, the year is 1926 to the Roaring Twenties. So this is the board game we're gonna kind of go through. Unlike some of my other unboxings, I'll go through and show all the cards and show all the components, but I'm not gonna sit here and read off every single one of them. And the reason is because if I did this would be like a 6-hour long video because there's a lot of text on every card. Additionally, this is a spoiler warning because this is a game that has a while you're playing through, there's going to be like mysteries that pop up, and you're not supposed to know what happens. You're supposed to discover the clues of what's going on in Arkham. You choose a scenario. I'm just kind of running through this a little bit quick. And it tells you how to set up the different board. There's a couple different scenarios in each in the box. So the game will be a little bit different each time that way. But then you shuffle your decks, and there's going to be a bunch of different stuff. And you're trying to discover things. You're going to pick out 2 cards. You're going to say you're doing this, and the next time you pick up cards, you might do this. So I don't want to sit there and read through every card because it'll spoil everything. I'm just going to kind of flip through them all quick. But again, this is big spoiler warning. So if you don't want to know the secrets of it, I will let you know again right before I start showing off those, like the cards that would have extra information in them. We're just kind of skipping through the rule book here with all the different tokens and all this. There's a ton of components to this because usually I do card games, which are card games, maybe a couple of tokens here or there. This is actually a full board game, so there's a ton of stuff for it. But yeah, it's really interesting. You're gonna always kind of like in the losing side, like you're always struggling to win, if that makes sense, because you're always fighting against this encroaching horror. You do stuff during your turn, at the end of every turn. The mythos, which is the bad stuff, happens every turn. So you're constantly fighting against the bad. So it kind of makes it, a fun, autonomous board game. It's kind of if you picture like playing like D&D or something like that. Like after every one of your actions or during stuff, the DM gets to do stuff to try and mess you up. This is the same thing except it's automated. This manual instruction book is really good for explaining how stuff goes. It's like, here's all your information here. Here's some more side information on each individual card with symbols. Telling all the different tokens you get to pull out of the bag. So this is what your mythos space is. You pull out, you can spread doom, spread monsters, read a headline which can affect stuff. You spawn clues, which are what you're looking for. You can get gate bursts and reckoning, which are bad things that are happening, even worse. Or you can get a blank and nothing happens. And sometimes you get peace of mind. You get little ally cards and all this other stuff. There's a bunch of people that worked on the game. Good job, everyone. So there's that. That's the instructions. And then on top of that, we also have a rules reference guide. So this is just something that's going to reference every other thing you would ever need to know about the game. Do you need to know what actions do? Do you know what allies do? It's going to explain what anomalies, and look at all these steps for just anomalies. But I love that they make a book like this for a game with this much stuff. Just so you know, what's this word mean? Oh, that's what this is. What's, this type of thing do? Why does it reference this? Like, even says what spend means to be, what starting cards are. It's definitely cool. I love that they did this. There's just your quick reference for a bunch of stuff. Monster cards, encounter streets, all the different symbols you're going to see. Alright. So we are going to hop into this. To begin with, let's look at our locations we have. So these are the various parts in Arkham you can go. So they're going to be these big giant tiles like this. So this is downtown. It's going to be separated into 3 different spots. Independence Square, the Arkham Asylum, and the La Bella Luna. And then you can flip it over and there's some stuff on the other side. So instead we have North Side, which is the Curiosity Shop, the train station, and the Arkham Advertiser. And then you'll do is you'll get these little passageways, little streets, and they'll be listed with different symbols. So this one's it's like a walkway, where this one's like a town street. And they have different effects depending on what side's where, and then they snap in like this, and then your next location snaps in there so you can get between them, or it could snap up on to this side, or however you do it. And then there's expansions to the game, which will add more things like that. So we have East Town, which has Hibbs Roadhouse, Velma's Diner, and the police station. The Miskatonic University, which has the observatory, the Orne Library, and the Science Building. And then the little symbols on the top are going to kind of show, throughout the game, you have to draw cards based on which location you're in. And they're going to show the stuff that you might get to do during it. So like this one, you might get a trade, do a knowledge test, to do some sort of summoning. Versus this one, you might have to trade one of these monster remedies, or remnants, for money. So you get some different options. It's not the only thing that can happen in those areas. It's just generally what it does. So if you're trying to do a specific type of thing, like you need more money, come to the Merchant District, go to the River Docks. If you want to spend some money, you can go to the TikTok Club to gain back some health and sanity. Or go to Unvisited Isle to look for clues and monster pieces. So you get some different options. There's South Side with Ma's Boarding House, South Church, and the Historical Society. And one thing about the game is your characters all have health and sanity, so they can either die to physical damage or they can get driven insane, which plays a big part in this. So here I have another North Side. It's going to be the same 3 locations. They just have some different abilities on them. And they're represented by that one has a circle, that one has a triangle. And we have an Uptown, we have Hangman's Hill, St. Mary's Hospital, and the Old Magic Shop. Pronounced correctly as the Old Magic Shop, not Ye Olde Magic Shoppy. And finally we have Rivertown, which has Black Cave, the Graveyard, and the General Store. And East Town, again with Velma, Hibbs Diner, or Hibbs Roadhouse, and the police station. So one thing I liked about this as a board game versus like the Arkham card game, which I love the card game as well, is that I like the idea that here you're actually exploring the town. There are parts of the card game you do have to explore the town, but you're not out. Sometimes you get sent to other places, other worlds. here you're trying to solve this mystery in this big giant town. And then here you just got some various streets. I think all the street cards look the same. If there's a bridge, yeah, all the houses and stuff look the same. So it's either like a little town part, or you're walking through like a neighborhood, or you're walking through a bridge, crossing over part, or you're going to be walking through a park. So it's one of the three. Okay, let's look at some of our investigators. So these are the different characters you're going to play if you've played the other Arkham games, whether it was the card game, or I say like Elder Signs or Mansions of Madness. And again, the last one just eludes me what it is. You're going to probably recognize who a lot of these people are, because they're the same people in like every game. So here we're going to have Agnes Baker. She's the waitress. So all of them are going to have their own special abilities. So she's going to have like blood casting. You may suffer damage instead of horror while casting a spell. And blood is power while casting a spell. If you suffer damage or spend remnants, you get 2 lore for the turn. She has a 4 focus limit, which is how many different spells you can have at one time. 6 health, 6 sanity. She has lore, influence, observation, strength, and will. So they have some different abilities. And I'm not going to sit here, again, like this. I'm not going to go through every card. I'll hold them up for you. Because if I sat here and read all of this, all this, all this, for every single card, we'd be here for like 6 hours. But each character also have starting possession. So she's going to start the Heirloom of Hyboria and $3. And then she has an option of like either Storm of Spirits or Flesh Horde to start with. That's another thing that makes this game kind of neat, because you have an option of some cards, like what do you want to start with, how do you want to play your character. And they also have their roles. So our primary role is supposed to be a mystic. The mystic characters are adept at warding against evil. Your focus should be on removing doom from the board. Your best defense against the ancient ones. So throughout the game, doom's going to get placed on the board. The mystic role characters are really good at performing actions because of their stats, their cards they start with, their abilities of getting rid of them doom to keep the town safe. Secondary role as a guardian is your responsibility to protect your fellow investigators. That could mean helping them recover from a trauma or dispatching monsters before they become a threat. Oh, I gotta set these down here. Let's do this. So Guardians are, they're just kind of like, they're good at dealing damage, doing other things like that, because again, she's casting spells, she can cast some spells to do damage. So it gives you 2 different roles of how, here's an idea of how you should maybe play this character. You're not set in stone of doing that. Well, again, if you compare it to sort of like a D&D campaign, is you could have a mage character that could be like a healing mage or a battle mage. This is sort of the same idea. Just because they cast spells doesn't mean they only do the one thing. Even if they're a priest character in some of the games, they have like healing priest spells, but then they have light spells. So it gives you an idea of different things you can do. Alright, let's look at our next investigator. We have Calvin Wright, who's the Haunted. So again, you have 6 and 6 health. I think they all have equal number of health and sanity, just some bounce different. You can see his stats are a little bit even until he gets to will. So he's got a couple of different abilities there. Other side. Spirit Dagger, End of Time, he gets a couple different optionals. But he has the Guardian as a primary role. His secondary one is the Rogue. The Rogue is an interesting role in this game because so they have unique skills that allow you to specialize on a specific task. Calvin is adept at healing trauma suffered by others. You can also use to keep yourself alive through disasters. So the Guardian and the what was the other one already? The Mystic and some of the other roles, they're kind of generalized roles like protect or remove doom. The Rogue gives each person a specialized goal that they should be trying to do. So Rogue makes some of them characters a little bit more unique. Here we have Daniela Rise, who's the mechanic. So she has 7.5 instead of 6.6. And her stats kind of go, she's not very good at observing, but pretty decent everywhere else. She's going to get the Rogue. She's master of efficiency by getting the most out of each action. You more easily reach your goals. Her secondary role is the Survivor. Your advantage lies within surviving relentless assaults from the mythos and helping your fellows do the same. Supporting one another will lead to victory. And a couple of different cards she gets. We had Dexter Drake, the Magician. So he's going to definitely get to use more magic. So he has a neat thing, his focus limit for spells. Not for spells, but to do stuff, is he gets it equal to the number of spells he has. So his changes based on that. But his stats are a little bit, different, more brain power. And he's just a mystic. He doesn't get a second role, but he's a mage, so it kind of makes sense. You don't want him playing magic cards. We have Jenny Barnes, the Galante. So she gets a little bit different. I like that the stats are getting so they're not all even anymore, and one very different one. And then she's a rogue, perfect willing to solve all her problems with money. Don't hesitate to spend when it benefits you. Starts off with more money than other people. We have Maria Lambu, the entertainer. You can see these are characters from all different things. It's not just I have a cop, or I have, I have a different thing. Or they're different classes. I mean, again, if you're comparing this kind of class stuff to a D&D type thing or whatever, it would be instead of having a warrior, a priest, or a warrior, a mage, and a thief, it would be no, I grabbed the bartender, I grabbed the farmhand, and I grabbed, the innkeeper. It's kind of neat, because you're playing different characters. So she's a mystic and a survivor. We have Michael McGlenn, the mobster. He's a lot of health, so he's going to be doing a bunch of attacking. Clearly, you can see the Tommy gun sitting out there. He's a rogue, says, Michael puts all his talents towards mercifully destroying grotesque creatures that threaten Arkham. So he's just going to be shooting up everybody and then protecting everyone else. We have Ming Chi Fan. She's a secretary. Kind of even stats. But she likes to try and get some clues, so she's going to be a seeker, which we haven't talked about yet. An intrepid sleuth, your focus should be on gathering clues and researching the deeper meaning. Your work is instrumental into putting a stop to the evil plots at work. So the seekers are the ones that gain the clues. The clues help you get further through the mystery to try and solve the game. So that's one thing that's really neat about this, is that you start off, there's a way to lose, dying, or being driven insane, and then you're running out of characters to use. If one of your characters do, you can just start with another character, so you're not immediately out of the game. But the other way to lose is if there's too much doom happens all over Arkham, so you need to be preventing that. The only way to win, though, is to gather clues and use them to try and figure out what the current objective is. So you start off the game, you don't actually know how to win. It's not, I just need to gather 20 clues and I win. Nope, this time you might have to get 5 clues to advance us. The next time it might be 3 clues, or you might have to do this or that. And that's what makes the game interesting, because it's not, I start the game out, I know what I have to do, I can focus on who I need to have out to do it. So similar to the Arkham card game, the same thing is, depending on what scenario you do or choices you make, the game is going to change. So here we have Norman Withers, the astronomer. He's going to be a seeker and a mystic. We have Rex Murphy, the reporter. The focus limit is unlimited. It's a 7/7. He's got pretty down this middle stats. Seeker and a rogue. Says a rogue, he says he lived with his family curse his whole life. As a result, you have many ways to mitigate your bad luck. So you kind of like, you can take on challenges that you might not normally take on. We have Tommy Muldoon, the rookie cop. So he's a guardian and a survivor, which makes sense. And our last investigator is Wendy Adams. She's the urchin. And she's a survivor and a seeker. Alright. So now we're going to have slight spoilers. Just a heads up. These are the story cards. So we have the approach of Azahoth. So it's going to tell you your stories, what space you start on, and what a reckoning ability is, so if bad things happen. And then on the back side, it's going to show you your game setup. So this isn't revealing too much. This is just how this game starts up. So here's how your map needs to be set up. And then where you start tokens at. And then your monster deck. So this one says Abysmal Servant, Eyeless Watcher, High Priest, Hooded Stalker ×2, Occult Ritualist ×2, Rogue Figure ×3, Swift Bakahi, and all the Hounds of Kingless monsters. So those are the monsters you'd be fighting in this scenario. So you're not taking all the cards from every game every single time. Your Mythos Cup, you fill it with these specific blank ones, so those are the ones you're going to draw, so you can kind of get an idea of the difficulty based on how many bad tokens you are versus good ones. And the final setup, it says add 2 to 3 cards to the Codex. Create the Anomaly deck using the Temporal Fissure cards, which is other things in the game. So the Codex is cards you place down which start telling your story, and bad things can happen or they can get shut down, you can't beat them, but that's what makes the story. So our second one is we have the Feast of Umedorhoth. So they're going to give you some different stuff, different conditions. So the map is going to be different, not just in necessarily the locations, but also how it's set up. The first one is set up in a shape of 5 like that. That one's more of a cross shape, so it changes how you can interact with different things. Different things in the monster deck, different final steps. Here it wants you to specifically add cards 1, 10, and 11. And set aside some following monsters. Here we have the Veil of Twilight. I love the art on these cards too. It's just it sets it up a little bit different. So it's similar to the first, but you notice North Side and Mr. Tonic aren't connected, so you have to go around to get between those two. Different monsters, a little bit different mythos stuff. I think they're all barely the same, but this one starts with 2, 20, and 21. Fractured Reality Anomaly deck. So some different stuff. And finally, we have the Echoes of the Deep. We're going to fight Cthulhu himself. And that one will set that one up that way. All the deep ones add cards 2, 29, and 30, and create the Nightmare Beach. You can see how each one, you're going to use the same type of stuff, but everything's going to be just a little bit different. Alright, then we can jump into a bunch of the cards. And I'm going to go through... I think I'm going to go through all the item cards first. Because when I start getting you the other ones, I'll whip through them a little bit quicker, because they'll all start being the spoiler ones. So you're going to get a bunch of dice for stuff, a bunch of stands for your characters, for the tokens. Let's go through the tokens first, actually. So I have all my tokens in an extra little case that does not come with the game. So I'm just going to kind of hold out a couple of them at a time. So we're going to get money. We're going to have denominations of 1 and 5. Same thing, you're going to have some brains to mark your damage for 1 and 3. Similarly, you'll have your health at 1 and 3 for health. You get a decent amount of these tokens. You're going to get doom counters or clue counters, and they flip over for either way. Just a way for them to save time or save space. Plus, for some stuff, they'll be like flip a clue over to a doom or vice versa. We have monster remnant tokens, which are little tentacles. Whoops. Shot that one out. So these are, if you beat monsters, you gain these. You can use them to like pay for mystical abilities and stuff like that. Then we have a bunch of other stuff for the Mythos Cup. We have the anomalies, which show where these go on your map if there's anomalies happening. And then we have all these other different tokens for representing various clues. So like that one's blank on one side. There we have like a Cthulhu tokens. Your blank tokens. I showed these off in the book. Bad tokens. They're all pretty decent size. We have a clue token. Newspaper token. This one's a ritual on one side, a white ritual on the other. They just mark different things for the campaigns that are happening. So these ones don't always go in the bag. And then some other bad stuff. And then there's a first player turn. It's a flashlight. And you flip it from one side to the other. Here's also all the little miniature cards, or things for your characters, so you can move them around down the board. They're all double-sided. And then there are little tokens for your skill tokens. And these are, you can gain these as bonuses by doing stuff. So that way, if you need to play an extra one to gain a boost in one of your 5 skills, 6 skills, 5 skills. Just the 5 of them. You have that option too. Like I said, I have these all in my own little tray here. You can see there's a bunch of tokens. I just have them all sorted out in here. No shortage of tokens. Alright, so now we're going to look at a bunch of the character cards. So like I showed on the investigators, they had special cards that go with them. So they're going to show on the back who the card belongs to. And then some of these are ones they have to start with, and some are ones that they gain. And there are going to be a bunch of various things. They can be anything from items, allies, assets, other various things like that. So these are Agnes's cards. So she gets Flesh Warden. So I'm just going to kind of show them all. So she gets a spell she can start with, lets her do some different stuff. She also gets an item right away, a magical curio. She has 2 optional ones. Or she has an optional one. Maybe she has a second one that I misplaced somewhere. She has Storm of Spirits. She can also choose to start with a different spell. So here we have Kelvin Wright's stuff. So there's our good old friend Kelvin Wright. Gets a good old Spirit Dagger, gets him some bonuses. He gets Until the End of Time, which is a condition. So he gets to put it in play and gets him a bonus. But he also has a Reckoning, so it has some ups and downs. He's got another condition. Suffer 1 horror, can reroll any number of dice. Here we have Daniela Rise. Gets an Ace of Sword item. Tarot card. Gabriel, which is her motorcycle. Lets her move more. She has a wrench for beating people with. Then we have Dexter Drake, the magician. He's going to get Astral Travel spell. A magical chain. And then a little symbol on here is just showing how many hands they have. And some of the things at the bottom is showing extra damage they gain, or extra bonuses they give you, or what they can take. So we have Mist of Relay. So he may test for a lure in place of an investigation as part of an evade action. So basically, you can use your one skill to evade versus another one. We have Jenny Barnes, the Galante. She gets dressed to the nines. So she gets an additional $2 as part of her trust fund ability. It's kind of neat. Her twin 45s, getting just some extra attack. And then she has a search for Izzy. She gets kind of like a thing that kind of hurts her a little bit. Marie Lambeau, the entertainer, gets Grand Marie's knife. Intervene. And she has some witch blood. Lets her do some extra stuff there. Up next, we're going to have Michael McGlenn. You get Chicago typewriter. 4 extra mic as part of an attack. The O'Banging member. The O'Banging is one of the gangs or the mobs in this Arkham universe. The old broiler, so he gets a vehicle. We have, excuse me, Ming Ti Fan, secretary. She has an analytical mind, gets extra dice. She has the King in Yellow, who's, this is a book based on one of the old ones, ancient ones. And then she has Synergy. Increases her focus. Other investigates get 1+, so she gets some extra stuff. We have Norman Withers, the astronomer. So he gets an astronomy book, of course. Find Gate ritual spell. And a precious memento. And here we have Rex Murphy as a reporter. It all comes together. Overcome all odds. Search for the truth. And the Cowards on the tarot cards. We're going to get Tommy Muldoon. He's going to have Becky, who's his rifle. Handcuffs, because of course he's a cop. And just a plain motorcycle. And then lastly, we have Wendy Adams. She's going to get Mama's Amulet, which has an elder sign on there. That's the star. They're like the good omens. Mr. Potterson, a little bear to help her out. And a mysterious photo. Part of her story. So those are their specific cards. Then there's going to be a bunch of other different cards we can get. So we can get the greenback ones, which are various items in the game. I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit quicker. So 38 revolver, 41 Dillinger, 45 automatic, 45 Thompson, a bunch of guns. A bulletproof vest, some dynamite. A little number on the top is showing it's going to cost that much. Some Elder Signs amulet, some fine clothes, first aid kit, Grimm's Fairy Tales, grotesque statue, a knife, a leather coat, liquid courage, the lucky cigarette case, the magnifying glass, the mystic scroll, mystic tome, the occult scripture, the Otherworld Codex. Got some painkillers, pocket watch, a rabbit split, secret passage, or secret page, sorry, a shotgun, the silver key, I think I reached my limit there, the tattered cloak, and a token of faith. So a bunch of different items we can get. We can get some allies to help us, so they're going to be cards in blue. So we got Alice Luxley, she's a police detective, gives us a hand. Arthur Johnson, a consultant. Daphne Bell, the university professor. Gabriel Carlio, teacher. Grace Betchman, paranormal detective. Henry Wan, an inspiring actor. Janika Capria, the mystic bounty hunter. Leland Williams, an antiquities dealer. Lewis Hayes, a university professor. Sachio Higa, the pugilist. Tetsuo Mori, a police officer. And Zora Larson, a secretary. So up next we have magical spells that we can gain. The wooden homunculus. It's not only a curio, but it kind of works on the same idea. It's a spell of sorts. Alchemic process. Astral travel, which the other Dexter Drake had, but it's neat. They can gain the same idea, same things. We have a binding spell. A find gate. Flesh ward. Healing words. Intervene. Missive relay. Shriveling, and Wither. So those are all the different ones there. Not a ton of different ones. Oh, I actually had that wrong. This one was not part of the magic. That's why it was different. So then they have these orange ones, are special ones. So these are all going to be a bunch of different, various ones throughout that you can get. You draw from the deck. So they're not ones that are specified. So, like, we're going to have items like abandoned luggage, the Ace of Rods, the Astrolabe. But then we can get some allies, like Black Cat. Or we could get some conditions and stuff like a talent. We have Clover Club member, Contraband Whiskey. An ally like Daniel Chesterfield, the Islam patient. A Dark Blessing. Ganya Esperance, a witch. Deputy of Arkham. Ezra Graves, a university professor. Gravedigger. These talents are kind of little jobs you can get, which, let's see, perform, gather resource in this specific area, Rivertown. You gain extra money, so they're little jobs you can get. We have a hunting dog, which is a dog type. The Innsmouth Look. Lita Chantler, the Zealot. The Moon Tarot card. Mystery Serum. Become a performer, so this when you gather resources at the merchant district, you can gain an additional $2. Rare book access. Reporting gig. Server at Velma's. Service piece. Stevedore. A stray cat, and a stray dog. Why not get the local animals to help you defeat evil forces? So I have these special conditions you're going to get as well, which are Blessed, which giving you kind of bonuses. Or you can become cursed, which give you bad stuff if you get this. And then they have these Dark Pact cards, which all have the same front. They do the same thing. You roll a die, you do this. But then if you flip them over, they're all going to have different effects on the back. So depending on what pack you get, you're going to get a little random ability. Then we're going to have a bunch of monsters. So the monsters are all going to have two sides. They have this black side, which is what they do. It shows how they move around. So like the Abysmal Servant spawns at the street nearest prey. He has moves towards, he engages and investigates the most clues. Versus Wolfman Drew, who's going to just start wherever he gets placed, and he's going to move towards the lowest strength character. The Ravenous Predator is going to spawn in an unstable space and move directly towards and engage the lowest mental character. So they have all those. We're going to look at the other side because that's all the other information we need. It's going to show if you get a remnant, it's going to show how much health it has, and it's going to show its modifiers for when you're either attacking it with strength or trying to evade it. So if you try and roll a die, you get -1 for strength or -2 to evade. It's a little bit harder to evade. How much health and how much sanity damage it does to you. So there's the Abysmal Servant. And I'm not going to read through all of them. Just wanted to sit down. So we're going to have monsters. We're going to have Elma Hill, who are human cultists. We have a lot of cultists in this game. The Altered Beast, which is an aberration. You saw some of these guys are a little bit easier to fight. Got a couple of them. Altered Servant, a human thrall. The Avian Thrall. Billy Cooper, human cultist. Corpse Taker, an aberration. Creeping Ghoul. Eyeless Watcher. A Night Gaunt. Flesh Eater. Ghoul Acolyte. Ghoul Cultist. The Ghoul Priest. We have Herman Collins, a human cultist. High Priest. Hooded Stalker. Get a couple of those. Hulking Thrall. Hybrid Thug. It's a deep one. Deep ones are like the ocean monsters. So there's another one of the expansions really goes more into those. Keening Hound, a Hound of Tindalos. So they're like outerworldly creatures. Here have a Lodge Enforcer. A Lodge Loyalist. A couple of those. A Lupine Thrall. Masked Hunter. The Masked Ones. Nightmarish Fiend. Occult Ritualist. Ocean Scion. Ooh. It's a deep one. The Raleigh Guardian is a star spawn. It's pretty powerful. 4+ health. Massive, so he engages with everybody. She's kind of like a boss almost. Ravenous Predator. River Sulk. Some robed figures. Ruth Turner. Sea Singer. Shallow's Predator. A Shoreline Brute. Simon Carter. Swift Bakahi. Kind of like bird-like creatures. Skeletal-y birds. The Kingalos Alpha, Twilight Supplicant, Vicious Glutton, a Void Touched, a Wake Titan, a Whippoorwill, kind of like a bird bat-like creature, and Wolfman Garou. So these are all our different monsters, and they have different abilities, different stats. You can see all that. So next up, we're going to jump into like the different scenario type cards and things like that. I'm not going to show off all of them. I'm just going to kind of sort through them because there are like spoilers, and lots of them, unless we sit there and read off each one, there's not that much different between all of them. So they're going to be separated by neighborhoods. Let me zoom out a bit here. So you got like Uptown cards, South Side, Rivertown, North Side, University, and there's a couple different ones sorted out like that each way. We have some for the streets. You have some of these smaller decks, and then you have some of the bigger, thicker decks. And the differences are... So the bigger ones are all color-coded. So these ones all go towards if you're searching for something in that particular location. Then the smaller ones are some of your clues that go to your codex and do stuff like that. And they're going to actually specify what event they go to. So this is for the approach of Azeroth. So it's only going to have the locations for the one you're in. But then you can mix them with the other cards. But they're only specific ones for that spot. And it's listing them as like 1 of 24. Because each one's have all the different locations for that 24. So like this one down here is Echoes of the Deep. And this one's like Veil of Twilight. And what you do, so if we have this specific card, we look at East Town, and if we have to draw this, it's going to show all the different stuff we're going to do based on where you are or where you're drawing it. So if you're in one of these 3 locations, when you're drawing this, you have to do whatever the effect says, or whatever it does. There's little different stories. You can see like, so let me grab, like, here's the 4 different uptowns for this story. So it's going to have all 3 areas, Hangman's Hill, St. Mary's Hospital, and the Old Magic Shop, each time. But each one's going to have different abilities, a little different story telling you what to do. They have these little symbols on some of them. They're going to tell you where to place doom counters. This one has you place 2, this one has you place 1 there, based on what's happening. It's kind of like little parts of the story. You're finding out what's going on, what you might get to do, and that's what makes the game different and random, because you're going to have different cards per scenario. Plus, they're going to mix into the general cards which do stuff. This is going to be the same idea. Whoops, have them upside down. Plus, there's some for the streets in here as well. That should be the same idea. You're going to have, if you're in whichever one of these areas when you draw the card, that's the effect you're going to do. So like River Docks, Observatory, Curiosity. If you're in the streets, or, wherever. So like you're at the River Docks for this card. Says you heard that if you make an offering during the full moon, a water spirit will favor you. You spend $3 or 1 remnant to drop an offering into the reflection of the moon. If you do, a pair of large, glistening eyes breach the surface of the water and gaze at you with approval. You become blessed. So you have the option of doing that stuff and getting a blessed card. But if you play on the next time, it says you bump into Abner Weems, the local drunk. He cries, tells you how his wife and daughter were taken away by a horrible bat-like creature with 3 burning eyes. You become delayed to console him. You may become delayed to console him. If you do, he gives you something before he passes out. You gain 1 conning item. So you get a choice. You can either delay yourself, which prevents you from doing some actions on your next turn, but you get an item, or you can be like, I don't have time for this, or I don't need that item. So that's definitely interesting. And one thing you can also do is you can have somebody else like read this card, like read it off to you, and you could stop before what tells you what to do. So let's say if I'm at the Arkham advertiser here, you have another player read, editor Doyle Jeffries doesn't seem interested in your story. That's 5 page stuff at best, he growls. If it bleeds, it leads. Says you may spend 1 remnant to give him something worthy of the front page. So now you can let the person whose turn it is decide if they want to or not. And if they're like, yes, I will, or no, I won't, then you can read what the effect was. And it says, oh, if you do, he claps you on the back and says, don't bury the lead next time. Gives you $3. So you kind of have an option there. I mean, you could play it either way. I think it'd be more thematic if someone else reads it and they don't tell you what you're getting, because then you can easily make your choice up. But a little bit more thematic, like, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Besides, clearly, obviously, spoilers. If I read every single card or even showed off every card, I'd be here forever. If it's something people are interested in, they want to see every card, let me know. I can maybe in the comments, maybe I'll do a second video. But yeah, I'm not going to spend all the time doing it right now. So here's the other 2 areas, Arkham and the police station. Alright, then we have a couple other cards that let us do stuff. So we have Fractured Realities. So these ones are set up different back. They were pictured during the setups. They tell you what ones to do. So Fractured Reality, Nightmare Breach, or Temporal Fissure. Basically, stuff happens, you draw one of these bad cards, and depending on Doom counters out, different things happen. But again, it makes the game more random because you have, 12 of these in each set, I think it is. So you have 12 options, 1 through 3 different things that can happen. And like this one's 0, 1, 2, 3. Some of these are 0, 1, 2, 3, but other ones are like 2, 3. So what's going to happen, it's going to vary every time. Keeps the game interesting. Keeps it nice and random. We have the investigator cards. So sometimes you have to draw something. You're going to look at the paper and see what happens. Get a headline here. It's going to do different things that are happening. I'll tell you things. So if we have explain sightings near river, strange lights, sights in swamp gas, say authorities. No truth to the rumor of monsters. A.P. Jessup, staff writer, Arkham, Massachusetts. Headline: you suffer 1 damage for each doom at your space. Yeah, so that's not good. You can get, some various other ones. Why even go on anymore? Opinion: everything's hopeless. End draws near. Advertiser's final issue by Doyle Jeffries, editor-in-chief, Arkham, Massachusetts. Headline: roll 1 dice. This is not a test. You suffer total amount of damage or horror equal to the dice roll. I don't know if they're all bad or not. They might be. So far, it's looking like they probably are. Yeah, just, again, more randomness to add into the... randomness sounds bad, but it's just keeping the game interesting. You have some action phase cards. So you can play with a bunch of different people. Tells you what different things you can do. We have codex cards. So these are what are the actual story. So, like the first one, and this is spoilers, big spoilers, these are what the story is. But that first scenario we showed said draw 3 random ones, or 2 random ones. Then the other one said start with these specific ones. And then as you go through the game, you might have to add more of these. But they're going to tell you kind of what's going on with the story, and what you need to be doing to win. You're going to get some of them that are cards like these that are, have more things that add that. Draw this one, which is actually you have to fight Umargoth, the Ancient One. So you have to fight, one of the bosses if you have to draw that specific card. We have a couple other monsters. We have Servitor of Yog Sothoth. Here's some other location cards to do some different things. We have 2 more bosses here. We have the Servitor of Rayleigh. Of course, we get to fight Cthulhu. And on the back side, they have like the regular monster abilities. Other different stuff it's going to tell you what to do. So like the first one, yeah, so different things. Do different things. Do here, draw cards. This can add 5 cards to the codex, return this to the archive. Destroys a barrier. Yeah, a bunch of add 12 cards to the codex. Yes, this is how you kind of advance the story by doing different things. There are 4 more Doom on this. Remove 3 Doom from that space. Then place 1 Doom on each other space in the neighborhoods. This is also how it's advancing. You're going to try and place stuff to stop these. So that is all the different stuff we have. Except we have this nice little card holder they give you. You can pull it apart. But when you're putting your town cards in here, they go in here like this. And what's neat about this is because there are certain effects that tell you to grab stuff from the back, from the bottom of the deck or the top of the deck. It's generally bad stuff is on the bottom. So it's like, oh, I gotta draw a bad one. Oh, I don't know which one I got. And then the other ones are good ones, which will be on the top, and you kind of draw something, you can see what it is. But it gives, there's cards that then let you put stuff back on the bottom, or put stuff on the top of the deck. It's a neat way to be able to grab cards from either side without having to, like, keep picking up the deck. So it's a, yeah, really neat little thing they came with. The only downside to most board games like this is, you know, this is the box they give you. That's its space. You have little flaps you can flip up to kind of help you hold cards. But that's all they are. Otherwise, you store everything in little baggies is what they do. So I always do sort my stuff differently in different containers and things like that. I usually toss, I put the boxes away. But that is me. Everyone does it a little bit differently. Alright, so that was Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, the base game. There are expansions I'll be doing videos for as well, so I hope to see you guys there. Bye.